At my son's Vineyard wedding, his bride laughed, $62,000 gets you in. My ex sneered, or watch from the road. I declined, hit one button, minutes later, the power cut, music stopped, and a helicopter landed on their cake. That was just the beginning. $62,000, Dad, Lacey mentioned casually, not even looking up from her wedding planner binder. She made it sound so offhand, like she was just mentioning the price of a hotel room, while we were standing right under the Vineyard arch where I was supposed to see my only son tie the knot next month. I blinked, unsure if I heard her correctly. Then my ex, Kelly, let out a chuckle cough and chimed in with her swirling overpriced champagne, or you could just watch from the road. There's a hill with a great view. That was apparently their compromise. We were at this pre-wedding wine tasting that was supposed to be a chill family event, but in reality, it was all catered, Instagram ready, with everyone smiling through gritted teeth. Lacey was in this perfectly pressed white linen dress, while Kelly wore something that screamed fake spirituality. My son Alex just stared at his wine glass like it held the meaning of life. I waited for him to say something. "Dad, this isn't about the money," he eventually said, but even he didn't sound sure. "It's about contributing, showing support." Lacey's family helped a lot. I knew what that meant. Her dad bought the venue, her mom paid for the drone videographer. And me? I guess I was just lucky to be breathing their vineyard air. I looked down at the fancy invitation card in front of me, with its thick gold trim. At the bottom, in elegant calligraphy, it read, "Attendance requires contribution to Joy Fund $62,000 minimum." Below that, there were 2 boxes to check, accept with contribution or decline. Without saying a word, I pulled out my phone, scrolled to a name I hadn't contacted for months, and pressed a button. "Activated," I said, calm and steady. I could hear Kelly whispering to Lacey, probably something smug about me being dramatic, but I didn't care. I had planned this weeks ago. They thought it was for drone footage, and I never corrected them. This wasn't revenge, I just needed to make a point without shouting. Exactly 4 minutes and 38 seconds later, the lights flickered, the string lanterns above the tasting tables went dark, and the speakers cut out mid-song. This wasn't sabotage or anger, it was a declaration. The vineyard fell silent, buzzing with confusion until, over the trees, a helicopter appeared. People gasped, one woman screamed, and the wind from the blades sent wine glasses crashing and menus flying. They had brought in a replica of the actual wedding cake for photos, calling it a visual rehearsal. Even the frosting needed its moment, apparently. Lacey shrieked, "My cake!" as the gust lifted the fondant-covered monstrosity off its pedestal. The helicopter descended with clinical precision, landing smack dab on the custom floral runner. I didn't move, still holding the invitation card, my thumb on the remote's power button in my pocket. And that was just the beginning. But let's backtrack a bit and see how I ended up here. The first time I paid for Alex's tuition, he sent me a text that just said, "Tech." No call, no thanks for saving his future, just 3 letters and a thumbs up emoji. I told myself he was busy. The next time, it was Lacey who messaged, not with gratitude, but with a request, "Can we up the rent support for the new place?" Parking wasn't included. Not a word about finding the place or being excited, just another bill disguised as chit-chat. For years after the divorce, I got used to being the financial backdrop. Kelly kept the house, I got the bills. I didn't fight for much, I just wanted Alex to feel secure. That's what I told myself every time I wired money or let Kelly tell her friends she was rebuilding, while I worked overtime to fund her yoga retreats and Alex's yearly MacBook need. I kept thinking if I held on a bit longer, they'd see what I'd done. They never did. Alex graduated and moved in with Lacey into a condo I co-signed for, though nobody mentions that. She called it their freedom phase, like I wasn't still paying the water bill. Then came the wedding. It was supposed to be simple at first, a courthouse ceremony, maybe a dinner. But once her parents stepped in, it turned into a 200-guest vineyard affair with 3 outfit changes, a champagne wall, and a string quartet flown in from Italy. They said the groom's side should match the bride's energy, though they didn't ask me to contribute, they handed me a number, $62,000. "I'll think about it," I said. 2 days later, my face appeared in a private Facebook group called Vendor Confirmations. The Real Wedding Circle. Lacey had posted a poll asking which chair style screamed generational wealth more. Underneath was a comment, waiting on groom's dad's payment to finalize tint design. I hadn't agreed to anything. So, on that same hectic day, I got a text from my ex, Kelly, saying something like, "Let's not make this harder than it has to be, they're your family too." Meanwhile, in my head, I'm thinking, "Come on, Kelly, hurry up and think faster, you're already late on the deposit." And from Alex? Not a peep. Not even a "Hey dad, sorry they dragged you into this mess." I decided to just let it slide and deal with it later after the tasting event. Bad idea. The next day, after the whole helicopter fiasco with their ridiculously expensive wedding cake, I was bracing for a fight. But instead? Silence. Then the rumors started flying. Lacey's cousin, someone I hadn't seen since Alex's high school graduation, posted this super shaky video of me just standing around at the tasting with the caption, "When the dad thinks it's his day #toxic masculinity #my wedding no tie yours." The comments came flooding in. Stuff like, "Isn't he the one who walked out on them? And if you can't pay, just say that." They were using the silence against me and it was working. Then I got a call from Amanda, my niece, who's Kelly's sister's kid. She was always the quiet one at family dinners, just taking everything in. She was crying, telling me they were saying horrible things about me in the family chat. I kind of expected it, but then she went on, saying they were twisting the whole story, claiming I refused to help and even tried to ruin the wedding with a helicopter mess up. Lacey was calling me unhinged. Amanda sent me screenshots, tons of messages. Kelly was going off about my so-called control issues, saying she was honestly scared of what I might do. Lacey was saying they'd ask me nicely, that I was just bitter because Alex wasn't my little boy anymore. But Alex's comment, about me being mad the spotlight wasn't on me, just broke something inside of me. The next morning, I drove to this storage unit I hadn't touched in 5 years. In the back, buried under a box labeled tax docs, was this ancient hard drive from Alex's old laptop. I had saved it thinking he might want his teenage photos someday. But instead, I found documents, PDFs, invoices, spreadsheets, and a folder labeled Dad Help Money. Inside were hundreds of payment records, forwarded emails, bank statements showing my transfers. One file stood out, a shared wedding planning doc. It listed every vendor and their price. There was even a column titled Dad Share minus $62,000. That wasn't a suggestion, it was flat out expected. Next to it, a comment from Lacey, "If he doesn't pay, we cut him, drama equals content anyway." So they were planning to use me no matter what. Then I found this audio file from a call between Lacey and her mom. It had accidentally synced from her iPhone's backups. In it, Lacey said, while giggling, "He's not coming unless we beg," and her mom just said, "Then don't beg. Fine, let him sulk. We'll say he was unstable. No one questions trauma anymore." I listened to that 3 times, not because I couldn't believe it, but because I could. A week later, I got a wedding update email. Apparently, the venue was dealing with some electrical inconsistencies and was now under investigation. Was it my doing? Maybe. Did I confirm or deny? Never. Then came the second gut punch. Alex emailed me, not texted, but emailed. "Hey Dad, given everything that's happened, we think it's best you don't attend. You'll be refunded your RSVP contribution. All the best, Alex." Refunded? I hadn't paid a cent. I hit reply, typed 2 words, "Declined refund," and attached an MP3, the voice memo where Lacey and her mom planned to paint me as unstable. Then I blind ceased it to every vendor on that spreadsheet and signed it, from the father of the groom still paying, still watching. The fallout was swift. The cake designer bailed, the violinist posted a cryptic TikTok about shunning unethical gigs, and someone hacked Lacey's Pinterest, swapping mood boards with disaster wedding pics. Then, I got another email from Kelly. "What are you doing? You'll ruin his life. You've always been jealous of anyone who loves him more than you." I didn't bother replying. Just forwarded it to Amanda with the subject, "File under gaslight." Then I called my brother, Mark, for the first time in years. He left the family at 22, moved to Alaska, always said the family was toxic. I used to think he was just bitter, but now I realized he was just ahead of the curve. "Mark," I said, "you still got that drone license?" He laughed, "Still got the drone too." I told him the date, the time, the coordinates, and that I wanted footage, not of the wedding, but of what happened next. I wasn't planning to crash the wedding myself, but they fired the first shot. After refusing to cough up that $62,000, I got booted from the guest list. No call, no message, just a slick PR spin online. Not everyone can handle joy, and that's okay. Our wedding, our peace. They'd made me the villain, painting me as unstable, bitter, and dangerous. So I decided to hit back. The helicopter wasn't a fluke, it was precise. I called Mark, my brother, a former military guy now in logistics, the kind of guy who gets things done. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more crazy real-life stories happening around you. Oh, I can totally spill the tea on what went down with the helicopter chaos and that wild wedding showdown. So, you might be surprised, but yeah, you can totally score a helicopter ride if you know how to play your cards right. I did just that, handled all the deets like booking the flight, the pilot, and even snagged the right permit. 2 months ahead, I scouted out the perfect spot for landing, right smack in the center of the lawn where they later set the cake. They all thought I was just being helpful, but really, I was aiming for my target. The chopper swooped in like clockwork, just 5 minutes after my signal. Initially, everyone was all smiles, thinking it was some cool surprise for photos. But then the wind hit, it was like a mini hurricane. Veils went flying, champagne glasses shattered, and seating charts were gone with the wind. And the cake, oh, the cake. All $8,000 of it took off, spun, and boom, frosting and sugar everywhere. Kelly screamed, Lacey stood there stunned, covered in cake, and my son Alex just looked at the mess like he was looking in a mirror. I wasn't fazed by the chaos. I walked straight to the stage, grabbed the mic that was all set up for the first dance speeches, and said, before we start dancing, how about some truth? Cameras came out, and Lacey freaked, yelling about trespassing and harassment. I didn't flinch. Whipped out a tablet and hit play. Lacey and her mom's voices filled the air, talking about using me as a scapegoat if I didn't cough up some cash. Everyone was shocked. I told them I got the clip from her iCloud, which I still had access to. Then, I showed them another file, a wedding plan with a note on my $62,000 share saying drama's great for content if I refuse to pay. No need for more explaining, screenshots did all the talking. Then, I called up Amanda, my niece, the only one who ever seemed to care about me. She had the goods too, saved chats where the fam called me selfish and debated cutting me off. More gasps. Kelly tried to stop it, saying I couldn't do this, not today. I told her, no, this is your doing. I'm just completing the picture. Lacey said I was ruining their wedding. I replied, nah, I'm just answering it. You put a price on family, here's your invoice. People were leaving, filming, or crying. My son Alex? He still hadn't uttered a word. I left the tablet there, turned, and walked out as the music kicked back in like nothing happened. For them, maybe nothing did change. But for me, it was the last time I'd stand in a lie and pretend it was love. The next morning, my phone was blowing up, 37 missed calls, a bunch from Kelly and Alex, even one from a wedding influencer. Surprisingly, Lacey's dad called too. I ignored them all, just made some coffee, hopped online, and posted a statement titled, My Role in the Wedding. No names dropped, no need. Just screenshots, the planning doc, texts, audio clip, and receipts for everything I'd paid for. I explained, this wasn't revenge, it was about stopping the cycle of silence and guilt. My post took off, 3,000 shares in an hour. Even hit the front page of a wedding subreddit, and someone made a TikTok recap that went viral. Vendors started chiming in, confirming I actually paid for stuff, like the flying cake. By the end of the day, their wedding photographer even quit, saying he wouldn't edit around lies. That night, a podcast producer wanted me to talk about it. I said no, not scared, just over it. Instead, I launched a sleek new website with just one bold message, you don't. And that's how I wrapped up the wildest wedding story ever. I finally broke away from some really toxic folks and started owning my story. After sharing my side of things, just straight up facts with no drama, I suddenly got hit with 3 speaking requests. One was for a conference about setting boundaries, another for a retreat aimed at adult children in arranged situations, and the last from a publishing house. I couldn't help but grin, not because I wanted to be famous or anything, but because I finally had control over my own story. Of course, my family didn't take it quietly. Alex posted some blurry Instagram story claiming blood is thicker than screenshots, Lacey made a tearful TikTok about trying to protect our peace, and Kelly wrote this long Facebook rant comparing me to some twisted saboteur. She even tagged our mom, who I hadn't talked to in years, and mom took the bait saying I was being treated like a debit card. That seemed to shake up their little echo chamber. Then, the real kicker came. Lacey's first fiancé messaged me after seeing the files. He just said, thank you, and shared a screenshot where Lacey talked about using trauma for brand deals. He sent it to one of her sponsors, and, just like that, her skincare collaboration was gone. The brand said they stood for honesty and empathy, and I didn't even feel the need to gloat about that win, it was one of those quiet victories. I changed my number, set up a new voicemail saying apologies are already accepted, by me, for me. I moved to a small cabin outside Mendocino. It's a peaceful, solar-powered haven, paid for in full. Out here, there's no annoying messages, just the sound of wine through the trees, gravel underfoot, and the occasional fox expecting breakfast. It's liberating not owing anyone anything. They tried to drag me back in, though. 2 weeks after things blew up, Alex sent me a 3-page letter. It wasn't an apology, just an admission of guilt, and it was too little, too late. Lacey sent me a curt DM saying I ruined her life. I didn't reply to either, because sometimes peace doesn't need to explain itself. Funny thing is, when people can't use you anymore, they either disappear or try to jump on your bandwagon. Kelly tried both. She vanished from social media, then popped up again as a healing coach, posting a quote about villains. I almost laughed because she was kinda right, she just didn't realize she was talking about herself. I didn't turn all this chaos into a brand, but a life. I started a remote consultancy, helping folks set boundaries with their families. My first workshop on saying no without writing a novel sold out in 2 days. The cabin, my new place, isn't on Google Maps and there are no tags, but the gate has a sign that says RSVP declined. It's the same style as my wedding invites, but now it means I'm done. Sometimes people hike up to the cabin and see the sign, wondering if I'm still the guy who landed a helicopter on a cake. Yeah, that's me, but not for revenge, just for some fresh air. I don't check the family chat anymore. Amanda's gone, Alex is still there but silent, and Kelly keeps posting quotes while Lacey shares MLM links. I don't regret any of it, especially not the money or breaking the silence. You can't regret saving yourself. That's what this was, not revenge, just turning off the tap and watching them scramble when the entitlement dries up. The other day, a delivery guy asked what my sign meant, why decline? I just smiled and said some invitations aren't worth accepting. That's all I needed to say because that's the last explanation I owe anyone.